wanted to make a video. A lot of the things that's coming out now, and just, by the way, let me just date this because there's still some changes. There's some things that are not left answered with this new NAR, National Association of Realtors settlement that has been in the news. So it is March 24th, so 2024. So some things might change, but I wanted to address one of the things that I'm concerned about, and that is the news and the media are making it sound like as a seller, you no longer need to worry about paying commission to a buyer's agent. And so the idea is you can save money, just pay your listing agent and don't worry about whoever is representing the buyer. And so wanted to speak to anyone. This video is really specifically for those who are thinking about selling a home. I wanted to explain to you why it is good, not just good, but why I believe you want to make sure that the other person or the person buying your home has a good real estate pro on their side. Now, it sounds counterproductive. You're going, okay, why, if I'm taking somebody to court, why do I want them to have a good lawyer? Maybe you don't want them to be too good of an agent, but actually you do. And let me explain why. So first of all, let's cover the reason why you want them to be represented, period, whether it's a good representation or not. I used to be in the auto industry, and one of the things that happens in the auto industry is when you go buy a car, as a car salesman, nobody trusted me. Nobody trusted the dealership. Everybody was very, I don't want to say antagonistic, but, you know, there was some, you could definitely tell. They did not want to believe anything I was saying. They did not trust me, and they didn't trust the dealership. And now what happens is when you have a lack of trust, people will lie. It's just human nature. If you don't trust the other side, you're going to do everything you can to protect your side, and that includes lying, okay? So let me give you an illustration. When you're in car sales, a lot of people know this. One of the first things we're told is you want to qualify your buyer. Now, we didn't go to the person trying to buy a car and says, I need to pull your credit, make sure you are credit worthy. No, what they would do is basically say, hey, I tell you what, let me go ahead and while we're talking about this, let me get your approval to run your credit. And this way we'll see what programs you qualify for, what kind of good payments you're going to get, right? So it's, hey, I'm doing this for you to help you. All right, well, as a car salesman, you want to negotiate on payments, especially a new car, because everybody knew what the price of that new car was. You could find that. I guess years ago you wouldn't, but when I was selling cars, that's when the internet first came out, and you could go quickly to the internet, find out what a new car actually costs. At any rate, so if you wanted to make money in the car industry, you get the person negotiating on payment. It's just a bait and switch, really, rather than the price of the car. Well, a good savvy person knows this. So what do you think that buyer is going to say? Hey, no, I'm paying cash. Don't worry about my credit. All right. So you now have to negotiate on price of the car. You come to a deal and you say, all right, do we have an agreement, Mr. Buyer? And what do you think he's going to say? Well, as long as I can get the payments where I need them. They weren't paying cash. They need to finance this car. All right, so that happens. Now, I'm a listing agent. I am working for you, Mr. Seller. We have a person that wants to buy the house. They come to me and they say, hey, I would like to buy the house that you are selling over there on Smith Street. And I said, okay, certainly. So what would you like to offer? And they'll go through the offer. And I said, okay, now are you pre-approved or you paying cash? He said, oh, paying cash. Now, remember, in real estate, cash is king, just like anything else. The idea is that if I'm paying cash, I'll get a better deal than if I'm financing. That's true sometimes, not always true, but that is in the mind of the buyer. So they lie to me and say, no, I'm paying cash. Let's negotiate the fee of this, or let's negotiate this home. All right, so we negotiate. We come up with an agreement. And then what do you think happens? Okay, wait a minute. I got to go see if I can get pre-approved and the payments will be okay. We find out 3 days later, nope, not going to work. We've just wasted 3 days. Now, presumably we could take another offer in the meantime, but you see where I'm going with this? There can be all sorts of problems if that buyer does not have an agent. We can find out all sorts of things that are not true. They may not, even if they are not lying, they may not disclose something that they didn't think was a concern. Because remember, they are not real estate agents. They don't know all the ins and outs. Me as a listing agent, I'm going to help, but I'm helping from the perspective of you. My job is not to make sure that they can buy the homes as much as it is that I'm getting the best deal for you. This can cause some ugliness. So let's say we find out, or we don't find out, I should say, that they actually have a home to sell before they can buy your home. We might not find that out until maybe 2 weeks before we're ready to close. And they say, hey, we got to back up closing because we haven't sold our home yet. We thought it was sold, but it's not. All right. The other problem that if a person doesn't have an agent, well, are they going to keep on track? Is this person going to follow through with all the demands of the loan? And this is where a lot of home purchases go bad, is because a lender will reach out to their client, the buyer of the home, and say, we need X, we need this and that. Well, they're busy. They don't know. They just think everything's fine and they can do it later. Well, a good agent is going to make sure they stay on top of their client. So here's what a buyer's agent will bring to the table to help you as a seller. First, they're going to help with negotiations. Now, there is certain discussions I can have with another agent that I don't think I can have in the same manner with somebody buying the home, because there's certain things that could be ugly, certain things that could be offensive, let's be honest, that I can relate to another agent, and then that agent for the buyer who knows that buyer, who is trusted, they can translate that the way the buyer needs to hear it in order for this to be a productive negotiation. I don't know the buyer. The buyer doesn't trust me. I can't have those same discussions in the same way. And so the negotiation process could go a little bad if we don't have somebody representing the other side who can translate and help the other side understand. So that is one way a buyer's agent will help you as a seller to sell the house. The other is to qualify the buyer. Again, going back to that example I had, a good agent is going to make sure their buyer's qualified. And by that, I mean they've already gone through the pre-approval process. They're going to be submitting that pre-approval with the offer so that we, me and you, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller, you know that the buyer is qualified, where they're getting a loan, what kind of loan it is, because that's another thing. The buyer may say, yeah, I'm getting a loan, but a lot of times as a buyer's agent, they don't know what kind of loan they're getting. They don't understand it. They don't understand the ins and outs. There are certain homes that a loan for FHA will work for, or USDA, where it won't. A conventional loan is needed. That's where an agent is going to help. So if I'm a buyer's agent, I'm going to make sure I'm bringing you, the seller, a client that is qualified, not just qualified for a loan, has a loan, but also will match up with the home that you're selling, that it'll work, because not every home, a fixer-upper, FHA will not pay for that. Okay, so we need to keep that in mind. All right, so they will also make sure, or they should, I can't say this foolproof, but a good agent for the buyer is going to make sure that all the contingencies are accounted for. So in other words, if the buyer has to sell a home first, that will be part of the offer. There will be a contingency stated directly that this person wants to buy your home, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller, but they have to sell their home first. And so you'll know, and you can either accept or reject the offer or counter the offer based on that. So a good agent will do that. They will also help the buyer, as I alluded to, stay on track with all the contingencies, the loan process. That is very important, very, very important. They are also going to problem solve and work with the listing agent, me, to handle the problems and issues that come along. One of the worst parts of the whole transaction is repairs. Just went through one. It wasn't bad in terms of there wasn't anything earth-shaking to get repaired, but it was really an unorthodox and weird negotiation period. And had they not had an agent, it may have gone way wrong. Okay, so a good real estate pro will help handle the problems, think ahead, solve problems, and they'll work with the listing agent to get that done. That is immeasurable. You can't calculate the worth of that. All right, and then a buyer's agent will also bring people who would not come without. In theory, when you, the seller, are willing to work with an agent for the other side, that opens the door for more people to come. And here's this is probably a good illustration too. What if I, as a consumer, would like to buy your house, but I will only do so if I'm represented by my agent? And you are telling me that you're not going to work with an agent? Okay, I'm not going to buy your house. I need my agent. All right, so we'll see how that goes. I just don't think you, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Seller, want your agent, me, to do any of these. You don't. We want somebody else that's representing the buyer to come so that everything is completely ethical. I am completely in your corner, working for you completely, and that there's no gray area, and that we make sure that whoever's buying your home has somebody on the other side that knows what they're doing, so that we can make sure we close and we don't have any horror stories where something happens along the way and it totally makes us a mess. So why should you, as a seller, want an agent? Well, hopefully I've given you several reasons why. If you'd like, reach out personally. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about your circumstances, your situation, and let's talk about what's in your best interest. Because ultimately, that's why we're here, to make sure we take care of your best interest. Thank you.